All righty, greetings. Good evening. Mark Dixon here in the Channel 3 First Alert Forecast Center with this Monday night First Alert Weather Extra here on WFSB Plus. If this is perhaps your first time tuning in, checking us out, we do these on weekdays, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then at 9:30 at night here live at Channel 3 from the First Alert Forecast Center. The weekend was very nice across Connecticut. The week is off to a nice start, but as the week progresses, we are looking at a storm system. Once a coastal storm, now what we call an inside runner. The center of the storm is going to pass to the west of Connecticut, but it will produce wind and rain for us as we head Thursday into Thursday night. That wind lingers into Friday and even into part of the upcoming weekend. But we've got our first alert weather day Thursday night as the storm is ramping up with the wind and rain. More on that, of course, coming up in just a moment. Today across the state, temperatures reaching the mid and upper 50s, a few degrees below average for this time of year. Tomorrow should be pretty similar temperature-wise, but a little bit breezier. So tomorrow, breezy, seasonable. A normal high for the Hartford area for comparison is 59 degrees. By Wednesday, we're cloudier, primarily dry. Chance for an isolated shower, still a bit on the breezy side. And then things kind of begin to go downhill on Thursday. Rain and wind will be ramping up, and that's why we've got this first alert weather day that we have declared. So it's Thursday into Thursday night, especially through the afternoon into the evening is when we expect it to really get going. And by the time we get to Friday morning, by sunrise Friday, many communities picking up between 1 and 2 inches of rain. I'll show you the model comparison coming up in just a little bit because there are still some uncertainties surrounding where and just how much rain could fall. 1 to 2 inches, perhaps somewhere in the region, 3 to 4 inches. So something we're going to watch very closely. All dependent upon the evolution of this area of low pressure again. So here's the situation going into Thursday. Low pressure across, say, West Virginia is going to be strengthening as it passes to the west of Connecticut, encountering high pressure across eastern Canada. So the wind is going to increase a bit in intensity as rain becomes likely Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. So initially, it's that onshore wind direction that could push water into the sound, where we could have some perhaps minor coastal flooding to contend with. Then as the storm is lifting away, just in time for Halloween on Friday, on the backside of that, the wind is going to be picking up out of the west and northwest as the area of low pressure begins moving away, becoming more southwesterly as well. So that's just kind of an overall synopsis of what we're expecting. First alert weather day for Thursday, conditions going downhill through the afternoon and evening. So we could actually start Thursday on a dry note. And by the time we get to Friday morning's commute, the rain is winding down, but the wind impacts still linger into Friday. So currently across Connecticut, we've got temperatures, pretty big spread here between 35 and 45 for most. 51 is the warm spot coming in from Bridgeport, down to 37 already in Groton, 44 Hartford, 35 right now in Salisbury. So compared to this time yesterday, many communities close to the same. Either side of that, couple places a couple degrees cooler, some places a couple degrees milder. So all in all, pretty similar to last night. Our view from Waterbury, we've got a calm wind, 38 there in the Brass City. There's our view from Hartford. This is 36 stories up, looking toward the west. So I-84 east and westbound lanes there. Certainly dry roads, border to border tonight. New Haven, 45, calm wind there. And mainly clear sky condition-wise currently. There's our view from New London where we're at 37 degrees. So across the region, you can see that counterclockwise spin up across the Canadian Maritimes, an area of low pressure. It's been throwing some cloud cover across southeastern parts of New England. We saw some of those clouds here in Connecticut this afternoon. Certainly we have remained dry. Any shower activity as close as eastern Massachusetts, the Cape and Islands. But that area of low pressure is going to be moving away. And looking at the big picture, there's more wet weather with an area of low pressure off the Carolina coast. That's going to scoot by tomorrow, staying offshore from us. What we're watching for Thursday into Thursday night is that second low that's back across the Rockies that's going to shift east and then eventually again travel up to the west of us along the Appalachian Mountains. So that is what will eventually be the culprit for some wet and windy weather, but doesn't look like much right now. So for tonight across Connecticut, we bottom out in the low and mid 30s, inland 35 to 40 along the shoreline. So looking for frosty conditions to start the day tomorrow. Forecast highs in the mid and upper 50s, inland close to 60 along the 95 corridor. So similar to today, a little bit on the breezy side, though. We'll start bright and then cloud cover increases through the afternoon and evening hours. So big picture here, first alert futurecast. You can see that initial system passing by offshore as we go into tomorrow night. So that's going to spread some clouds in our direction later tomorrow. And then as we get into our Wednesday, a day that features more clouds and sunshine, and cannot rule out an isolated shower, but otherwise we are dry. So for Wednesday, temperatures top out a little bit cooler than tomorrow in the low and mid 50s. Fall foliage, we're reaching peak across all of Connecticut, past peak in the hills of Northwest and Northeast Connecticut. Leaf drop already underway. We showed a picture earlier this evening from Plymouth. Sharon, one of our Torrington weather watchers, was out in Plymouth and captured a picture there. Still a couple trees with some leaves on them that were colorful, but most of the trees were barren. So on that note, if you're doing a little leaf raking tomorrow or Wednesday before the wet weather arrives that we're expecting on Thursday, decent conditions, gusts to around 20 miles an hour the next couple of days. So not an ideal day, but not a horrible day either. Dry tomorrow, and a couple showers cannot be ruled out on Wednesday. All right. We've got Melissa. This is making major headlines, rightfully so. This is a major hurricane, a Category 5, winds at 175 miles an hour, and they've been that way since earlier this afternoon. So it's been strengthening, holding that strength, and basically drifting around at 2 miles an hour at the northwest right now. So here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll get an update as we head closer to the 11 o'clock hour. Still forecast to make its way over western Jamaica. So this is kind of a worst case, kind of catastrophic path for that island. So certainly keep a good thought for those in Jamaica. And then by tomorrow night, it's going to be working across eastern Cuba. And then by Wednesday, emerging from eastern Cuba and working through the Bahamas as perhaps a Category 2 hurricane. So certainly a rough go of it. A little bit wider view here showing the projected path certainly well offshore from the East Coast after the Bahamas has its sights set on Bermuda. So we'll be monitoring Melissa very closely. So while Melissa will not impact us here directly, some of the moisture from this tropical system will get drawn into this area of low pressure that is going to be heading up in our direction and intensifying into our Thursday. So you can see this on First Alert Futurecast, that low moving up across the Appalachian mountain chain, and then that moisture you can see being drawn northward into that. So Melissa stays well offshore that circulation, but some of the moisture gets pulled up here late Thursday into Thursday night. By Friday morning, we think outside of an isolated shower or two, we're beginning to dry out. We should see some partial clearing as we close out the work week, but the wind will still be a bit of an issue. And here is, there's still uncertainty surrounding how the path will, or how the storm will track, the path it takes relative to Connecticut, and also just how much rain could come from this system, this area of low pressure that's going to be passing by. So the European model saying an inch, maybe two, higher amounts say across New Jersey. But look at the American model, the GFS on the left-hand side, just to our west, perhaps even into western Connecticut. It's showing a bullseye, a swath of 2 to 4 inches with even locally higher amounts. So we could use some rain. Obviously, too much in a small window of time would not be a good thing because there's a lot of runoff. By coming over a larger window of time, we can get that, get the water tables recharged. We're abnormally dry across Connecticut on the drought monitor. Some areas are in moderate drought. And you can see here, going back to the beginning of the month for Hartford and as well Bridgeport, going back to the beginning of meteorological autumn, that's September 1st, we've got deficits. And for the year for the Hartford area, we've been chipping away, eroding a surplus, now just down to around 0.2 of an inch. And that will continue to decrease over the next couple of days before this wet weather on Thursday arrives. Meanwhile, for Bridgeport, and we've been highlighting this for a while now, we're approaching 14 inches of a deficit. So we need the rain. But again, we need it over a longer period of time or multiple rounds of a soaking rain to really get soaked in, to be absorbed by the ground as opposed to running off And that's what we would typically see when there are bouts of heavy rain in a small window of time. So summarizing our first alert weather day, Thursday, especially through the afternoon and evening, the wind and rain will be ramping up and peaking at night on Thursday. Then the rain, we're thinking across Connecticut, you just saw the model output, 1 to 2 inches, perhaps some locally higher amounts, thinking those would be across western Connecticut as opposed to eastern Connecticut. So some poor drainage flooding is possible. And then winds, they could gust 30 to 40 miles an hour. So not horrible in the wind department, but obviously something we'll have to monitor very closely. Perhaps you have some sort of yard decoration or still patio furniture out. You may want to secure that just with the potential for these stronger gusts. For Friday, Halloween, outside of a lingering shower early, we should start to dry out. Temperatures peak in the low 60s, but by the time we get to trick-or-treat time after sunset, which happens to be at 5:46, temperatures will be dropping into the low and mid 50s. So plan accordingly. The wind will still be a bit of an issue there. So on our first alert 7-day forecast, breezy, bright to start tomorrow, clouds late in the day, dry. Several degrees cooler on Wednesday, mostly cloudy, chance for an isolated shower. Thursday, our first alert weather day, wind and rain ramp up through the afternoon and evening, peaking at night. Friday, shower lingering early, otherwise sun and clouds, windy, low 60s on Friday. And then for Saturday, partly to mostly sunny, breezy, mid 50s. So that wind is not going to entirely diminish this upcoming weekend, but it's not going to be as bad as what we're forecasting on Friday, at least as we see it now. Saturday, dry and bright. Sunday, a bit cloudier, and by no means a washout, but an isolated shower. Looks at least possible, and perhaps a better chance for some showers into Monday of next week. And just want to remind everyone, this weekend, daylight saving time ends. The weekend is 49 hours long instead of 48, as we set our clocks back an hour before going to bed Saturday night. Officially at 2 a.m. DST ends. So reallocating that hour of daylight. Sunset on Saturday, 5:44. Sunset on Sunday, 4:43. But we do get that daylight earlier in the day as we get closer to winter now, making our way through the autumn season. All right, one more look at that first alert 7-day forecast as we sign off tonight here. We'll have much more on Eyewitness News at 10 o'clock over on the Wax, and then on Eyewitness News at 11.